Yeah, like Lightspeed Rescue.
Like
Oh, you mean like Star Commander?
Well, here's a new angle. I did my 30 minutes already today, and I ran around a lot during the day, and I'm working on a sort of commission. And I was actually catching up on videos, Chris McQuinlan, and I just watched Ox, and he had a video where he was basically drawing and talking, and I'm like, I used to do things like that, so I should do that. But I'm not working digitally, so I'm gonna tilt this. I have it one of those armatures, which I've had limited luck with getting to work correctly, but I'm trying it not at my drawing table, but at my computer desk, which is where I draw more than at my desk sometimes, because a lot of times I'm looking at reference or I'm watching videos, and so I'm drawing on this flat, whatever. I'm gonna tilt the angle down now here. And you can see, well, maybe you can't. I'm probably gonna have to flip this. I'm gonna film it this way. Here's a flip. Hey, look, now it's right side up. This is the Predator from the movie Predator. Actually, I think it's technically called Classic Predator from the Predators. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here. All right, so this is probably not ideal. There's a little bit of shadow. It's not super zoomed in. I'm having trouble zooming it, but it doesn't matter because normally you're looking at my stupid face, and so it's the same basic principle. I'll try to enunciate since I'm looking down, so hopefully it'll be picking it up okay. I sketched it with pencil, then I did the old eraser-oo so you could barely see it, and I'm inking the entire thing with this Japanese brush pen. It's a two-sided brush pen with gray and black, although I'm using mostly black. I'll probably put some gray in, but if I do, I'll use Copic. And what is the name of this pen? I don't know. But as you can see, I have most of the face done. This is for, the reason I say it's sort of a commission, actually, I need my Copic, so hold on. Presto changeo, Copic's achieved. I have two sets of gray. I have colors as well, but I'm mostly working gray. That's what I prefer to work in, and it's cheaper when people commission me. But as I was saying, this isn't exactly a commission. I did a signing at Variant the other day, and the owner is a gentleman named Hector who loves Predator, and so I think I talked about this where he kind of looked at Nebulous. He's a real nice guy. He was sort of doing me a favor. He's like, hey, if you want to throw me a couple bucks, that's fine, but no pressure, whatever. And I was going to throw him a few bucks, but instead I figured he had hired me to do some Predators before. I have not done this version of Predator. There's many, many Predators, and he had me do two different ones, both with their helmet on, and this is a unhelmeted. I was going for the original Predator, like the original Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Predator, but the reference I found was for Classic, which is, again, it's supposed to be from the movie Predators with, what's his name, Adrian Brody, I think was his name, which I can't even remember if I've seen, to be honest, but I think this was like the new version of the original Predator is kind of the conceit, I'm assuming. They're very, very similar. That's Q. She's saying hello in her sneezy way. And so anyway, I am inking this up. I'm going to ink it. I had been using, when I get to the heavy blacks, I had been using these markers, which I was going on and on about, these chart packs. But a few people cautioned me against them for being archival and for being, they bleed. I don't know how archival they are, but they bleed through the paper, and there's potential for yellowing maybe. I was loving them for getting in those heavy blacks, but now I'm paranoid that they might not work as well as I thought. I'll still use them for caricatures and things like that, sort of the more quote-unquote disposable art, but for anything more than that, I will be defaulting to my Copic black, which is fine for home, but I prefer not to bring my Copics, you know, out with me if I don't have to. If I'm at a show or something, that's one thing, but even then, like, yeah, it's just one more heavy thing to bring. It's one more thing that could get lost, broken, stolen, etc. Sorry, I penciled these in, but the pencil lines are so light I can't even see them, so I'm kind of redrawing them as I go. Basically, I'm just drawing the tentacle slash dreadlocks, whatever you want to call them. They look like dreadlocks, and they're in the place where hair would be, but they flop around more like they're made of rubber or leather, which makes me think they're tentacles. I'm sure there's actually lore behind it that explains what they are, but I mainly know Predator from the first two movies and Aliens vs. Predator, and a few toys here and there. When I was a kid, oddly, they had Alien and Predator toys, which is another one of those strange things that's like, oh, rated R movie, let's make some toys for the kids, you know. But, you know, ever since Star Wars, people are trying to figure out a way to sell figures, I guess, make more licensing money. I mean, now they have figures, but it makes sense because they're made by Nika and other people and SH Monster Arts, and they range from, you know, $20 to $80 or whatever, and they're clearly made for collectors, and they're more detailed and stuff. But I literally had toys in the 90s that were made for kids by Kenner, I think, which was the original company that made Star Wars. And, they were like, blast attack alien with, exploding action, or, get predator with glow-in-the-dark, spear, or whatever. Like, they're clearly for kids to play with. So, it's just it's so weird. Like, those are the most violent, bloody, horrifying, movies I could think of to make it like an Exorcist, the talking doll, So, but anyway, like I said, I'm doing this completely with this brush pen, which might have been a mistake, because it's good for the details and stuff, but like then these black spots, I should have done those with a Copic, but I went in, whatever, it's fine. This does bring a point back to what I was talking about recently about how it's hard to price for things, because I doubled my price, a while ago. I keep saying recently, but it's been 6 months, a year, whenever I doubled it. So this used to be a $10 drawing, and now it's a $20 drawing. So certainly it's worth $20, but the time involved, it's, when I did some of the other Predators, even for him with the helmet, like when the last one I did was the helmet, and it was kind of a simple one, it was much quicker than this one. This one's taking way, way, way longer because of the nature of it. Now, they're both Predators, they're both headshots. How would I know that, I should charge double for this one? You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind, because I'm doing this sort of as a thank you card, essentially, like a favor back, rather than throwing him money. I think this is more personal, and, hopefully he'll enjoy it more. It's a better thank you, hopefully he doesn't just think I'm being cheap. But, yeah, like if I was charging for this afterwards, I'd say, oh, okay, this should be $30, $40, something like that. Like if I was putting it up on my Etsy store based on how much effort I just put into it, I now know that. But if someone hired me to do it, I probably would have said, $20 or maybe 30 if I thought about it enough to realize it was going to take me longer. But I almost prefer. It's tough because I like doing commissions. I like getting hired to do commissions, and I like, oh, this is somebody's favorite character or whatever, and they get that special piece of art that I maybe would never create except that they asked me to. And I typically get more for a commission because it's made to order as opposed to something sitting around. But in some ways, I'm happier with the pricing of stuff when it's already done. Because like I said, if I did this, I know how long it took, I know how much I think I should get for it, I put it at that price, maybe I sell it, maybe I don't, but I feel satisfied, whereas the whole commission thing, who knows. Alright, I'm gonna go into some heavy black. I'm actually gonna, instead of doing, see, I have 100 black in this set, and then I have C10 cool gray. Cool, C is just cool. Cool means it has more of like a bluish hue. Warm means that it's more of like a tannish hue. I'm gonna go C9. And now this is the stuff that should be 100% black, but if I do C9, yeah, wow, that still looks pretty black, right? But it'll also give me the leverage, the breathing room, I guess. If I decide I want to put an even heavier shadow to pop it out more, I have that option because I'm not quite 100% black. And I started off with the fat end. There's two ends to these Copic markers, most Copic markers. I think all, but I don't know. There's a million Copic markers, so I could be wrong about that. But anyway, the one end is sort of a chiseled point. This is more of like what they call a bullet point. See, it's like pointy. Oh, I learned a trick. Huh? You see? My wife showed me that because people showing makeup, you put your hand and then, oh, look, you can see. But that's the chisel tip. But anyway, yeah. So I'm filling these in. I'm leaving sort of a rim light highlight on the edge of it there, if you could see. Once again, it was weird. When I tried to zoom in, it really kind of wouldn't let me. And I think it's because I have the camera flipped around. In other words, the way you would do a selfie, which, why would I need to do that? Because I'm not doing a selfie right now. But I'm looking up to make sure I'm still filming, to make sure I'm still basically, in frame, etc. And what's funny is I had some sort of topic in mind I was going to discuss, not just talk about what I'm drawing, but like, hey, here's my art thoughts, or here's what I think about comics, and so the idea would be that I would be drawing this while giving my little speech or monologue or whatever. And I completely don't remember what I was going to talk about, which is why I think I started talking about this, and then that just took over my whole thought process. So, the Predator has predatored my thoughts. Predatored my thoughts? Preyed. He's preyed on my thoughts! Not like he was hoping God would do good work for me, but as though he assassinated my thoughts. Yes. Alright, and I'm kind of taking liberty with, he has these sort of rings that go around parts of the dreadlock hair things, and I know they have kind of a certain spacing and stuff, but I generally take liberties with them, and as long as they got a few on there, it's fine. And they twist around and twirl around, who's to say what part of this is you know, his hair and what parts of the ring and whatever. It looks fine. You get that black in there, it starts popping it out. It's funny because I noticed this with the other Predators too. Like I'm kind of like, it doesn't look quite right. And then I put the black tentacle stuff. It's like, boom, it's starting to come together. So I'm going to flip it over here. So I flipped it, but now I flipped it again. So I'm going to leave it flipped. Philadelphia. But I'll maintain a little bit of rim lighting. And theoretically, this is to sort of show a light source, you know, the edge, the white I'm leaving when I say rim lighting. But it's also kind of more importantly to delineate the tentacles from each other, because if I do it all black, it's going to blend together too much. See, like right there's that little line I'm leaving because the next one starts here. And if I made that all black, I mean, it could be a creative choice to do that, you know, and having shadows bleed together and stuff. People like Mike Mignola do that to great effect, but that is not my style, and that is not my intention. So I'm trying to make sure it's super clear where those differences lie. So it's, you know, kind of sort of a lighting effect, but it's much more for clarity when I use it. And whenever I do something solid black, I you know, I'm late to the solid black party. I've been trying to use it more and more, but you know, when I went to Joe Kubert Art School for a year, which is a comic book art school for those that don't know, and they used to talk about a page, a comic book page. It should be basically 1/3 black, 1/3 white, 1/3 gray. Now they don't mean gray like the Copics I'll be using and like that kind of gray. They mean gray like text or cross-hatching or anything that is, you know, not white and not black, but, you know, at a quick glance, if you squint your eyes, you turn it upside down, it reads as gray. And I think that's a pretty good base formula. Unlike anything, rules are made to be broken, but it's a good starting point. I have a tendency to do a lot of gray, and I've gotten better about adding a lot of white. And I feel like only in the last year or two have I started to really embrace the idea of getting those heavy blacks in. But still, I worry about the clarity, so I try to leave a little bit of white. You know, when I did a Venom or whatever, even if it doesn't quite make sense with the lighting, I try to leave enough white that it's clear because, and I've talked about this before, one of my mission statements for myself, on top of every other way which I'm trying to improve, is to be clear. Clarity of storytelling, clarity of composition, because I can't be a master of everything, and I try to improve on all areas, but I like to focus on character, storytelling, clarity, these things. I feel like even if I'm never a master draftsman, even if my anatomy is never perfect, even if, you know, other things are wrong, if at least it's clear and everyone can see what's going on and understand what's going on, I'll have a little bit of a victory there. I am going to go ahead and put in some total black, actually no, sorry, C10 black on these, just a little bit, just to pop it out a little. I'm going to use the chisel tip though, because I just want to get this line, and I'll give it this sort of zigzag, almost like an old-fashioned inking style, but you can't quite see it. It probably looks like nothing on the camera, but hopefully in real life, even if people can't see it, they will perceive it. That's a quote. Here I go, misremembering who said it and misquoting it, but there's something, it's a famous artist said this, and then recently I saw somebody on YouTube quote it, and I can't remember either. Guys, I can't remember either. But it was basically like, there's something wrong. Oh, Mr. Plinkett, the movie reviewer from Red Letter Media, is the one who originally said it. I don't remember who quoted him. But the idea is, they said, he's a sarcastic character. He talks about like the Star Wars prequels a lot. He's like, "Wah." And he's like, there's something wrong, and you might not have noticed. This is a terrible impression. You might not have noticed it, but your brain did. And I think it's the same thing. Like, oh, people might not consciously see those zigzags, but they are perceived on a subconscious level, even if they don't realize it. And hopefully it'll be more aesthetically pleasing to them without knowing why. Kind of like when someone sees something they don't like, or a bad drawing, or a bad painting, or not even bad, but just something that rubs them the wrong way. They might not know why, but they know that they don't like it. I'm hoping to go for the opposite, where they might not know why, but they know that they like it. All right. So I have most of the heavy blacks in. I think I'm going to take a C8. I had done a C9 for the base of the dreadlocks there. I'm going to take a C8 with the thin bullet point and just go in and put a little bit on these eyes, because I want to really pop out the eyes. I'm going to end up putting more shadow in here. This whole area is basically black, but there's not, I mean, in comics there's true black, but in the world and in painting there's not true black, and this is a very comic book style art, and most of my art is. But when I color, and when I, you know, color with gray, I mean, it sounds weird to say, but I do kind of, I tone it, I shade it, whatever. I try to think of it as painting too, where there is no true black. So like that black will then be, you know, added to with darker gray. But again, that is not black. That's C8. It reads as black, but it's not. So the darkest, the only place I have black in the whole thing is some of the ink lines that I put down originally, and then the little highlight I put, or low light, whatever you're gonna call it. Shadow light. New from Cyber Image. Cyber Image. Alright. Okay. As a matter of fact, that's all I'm gonna do on that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab C7. So as I was saying, C7, which is a little bit lighter, and I will use this to go back in to this black area, but it's again not going to be black. And I'll put a little bit in here. There's sort of, it has sort of a crab-like mouth. It's very indentional. It's almost like a cavern, you know, like well, I guess it's about, well, it's deeper than ours, but it's more that it's wide and you can see the deepness. You can see the deepness in his mouth. He's some kind of predator. All right, but actually the reason I busted this out was to put some more spots, some freckles. Predator has freckles. I'm pretty sure they're not referred to as freckles, but you know, they're cute little. He's been out in the sun too long, guys. He's got some sunspots. All right, I'll put a few more over here. Now this area here is kind of heavily shaded, but it's not just these dots and speckles, it's other stuff, like toning, I don't know what you want to call it. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to C5, which is 2 lower, and I'm gonna use that on the edge of his little dreadlock thing here, and just do sort of a feather. You can see I'm kind of going in and out, almost like a little lightning bolt or something, just to soften those rim light edges a little bit, which is probably not necessary, but I feel like doing it. And since this is an unpaid commission, actually no, that's not true, because I'm doing it because I think it'll make it better, so even if I was being paid, I would do it. Unless I have specific instructions to do or not do something, I just use my best judgment. Regardless of the subject matter or the pay, I always try to do my best, which is why it's so frustrating if I do something and don't get paid well, or I don't like the choices that are being made by the people who hire me, because I'm always going to try to do my best, and sometimes it's a wasted effort. All right, that's pretty good there, and I'll go ahead and use this to put in some more gray-black for his eyes, get a little bit more liberal with it. Will Smith would say he's getting jiggy with it. No, that was terrible. I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit more in the, I guess what would be the predator uvula area, just to bunk that back a little bit. Put a little bit more under here. This is sort of his upper jawline. It protrudes a little bit. And I'm kind of new to predator anatomy, at least in this detail. I've drawn him with the helmet a few times. I've drawn him without the helmet, but not in quite a while, actually. When I was younger, I did a few pages of a Batman versus Predator comic, which someone else had done, but I like redid it in my own way. It was part of like this art project. It was a weird project. I won some kind of prize for it, like, I don't know. Anyway, now I'm going to, do I want to switch? Okay, I got C4, so what was that, C5? So no, I'm gonna go down to C3. I like to skip, because I don't need it to be that perfectly blended, and also we'll be here forever if I don't skip a little bit. So I go by 2s. I count by 2s with my shading. So I'm trying to put all the sort of gum line mouth stuff. He's got his like protruding gums here. I'm trying to use all the cools for that, as well as the eyes here. I think my C3 is starting to run out of ink, which is not good. Not a big deal in general because these are refillable, but I will go down to C2 and use that to fill in what my C3 could not. Yeah, my C2 has a little bit more ink. Some of my C's are gray, cool grays. My C's are starting to lose ink. Because I've been using them for a while. I got one refill, and I didn't realize you needed different refills for different colors, so I got some random gray, and I'm like, oh, this will only fill up this one color. Great. So Copics are supposed to be, they're expensive, but then it's like, oh, but you could refill them, but the refills are expensive, but I guess you buy the bottle refill and it'll refill like 50 times or whatever, so that's where like the savings lie, but I guess I don't use them enough to have seen those savings yet. So I got both my sets as gifts for Christmas or birthday or something, but now that I've started buying refills, I'm like, these are expensive. But I do like them, and I can see why everyone uses them. All right, I'm going back to C4 to put a little bit of color on this sort of collar thing, and I keep saying color, but you know what I mean, shading, tone, gradient, whatever. All right, that'll be good for that. I want to put some more spots in. I did C7 for that. Okay, I'll do C5, but I'll do C5 with little butt bubble. That's a fart. my friend's kid used to call them butt bubbles. I don't know if she still does. I think she's like 12 now, but at the time she was, you know, like 6 or 7, and she would be like, butt bubble, like real loud, which I thought was hilarious, and encouraged her to do it at restaurants, which, you know, parents enjoy. Although they actually enjoyed it somewhat. They're pretty good natured about it. All right, that's looking all right. Now, do I want to go into warm tones? I do for the brackets, because those look like they're made out of copper or something. So I'm gonna start light. I'll do a W2. So this is a warm 2. I'm doing for the rings or brackets, or whatever you want to call them, on the hair. And I kind of have 2 ring, you know, I don't know what you call it, like a raised edge around them that I'm not going to put any color on at all. Leave them so they're like raw metal, or they're highlighted. Again, it's partially like that might be accurate, and partially it'll help separate things. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on there. And I'll probably just go one more. That was W2, so I'll go W4. And I'll use just the bullet point. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da. Just put a little bit. I've seen things like Adam Hughes and people like that. Like they're very good at like blending their Copics, especially the grays. And I'm not very good at it. I'm good at, like, you know, putting the shadowing in and that sort of thing, but they seem to, like, it stays wet, and then they mix it, and it looks like watercolor almost, and I'm not sure how they do it. I mean, I've watched tutorials, I see how they do it, but, like, practically speaking, I don't know how they do it. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go W1. You know what, I was going to put some color on these fangs and teeth, but I'm just going to leave them. I'm not going to mess with it. I will put a little bit in the eye, I think. No, I'm going to leave that, too, because I want that to pop. What instead I'll do is grab W4, which was the shadow on the ringlets, and use that to fill in this area that's supposed to be textured dark. And I'm using the chisel tip, and I'm going in kind of sloppy, because it's not an even, like, oh, it's like a skin model thing, you know, but it's different than the exact thing you're seeing with these spots, and I think that's looking really good. Just like when I put in the black, and it was like on the tentacles and it started pulling together, I think it's starting to pull the spots and the skin, because it looked really vast and barren, and like it's just wide open. I've got a big cranium chrome dome with no details, and I was actually probably throwing in more detail than I needed, because it just looked so empty. And if it was just a black and white ink drawing, it needed that. I don't know that it needed it now that I'm doing this, but putting this stuff in, I think, is really making it pop, and it's making me feel less embarrassed. I talk about this a lot, like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed that I'm doing this, and then at the last minute I save it, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I can show this to people. So I'm getting to the point where I can show it to people. Once again, saving it with the Copic, saving it with the color. Although, you know, I'm looking at his face, and I think he has a few more spots kind of in by his eyes. So I'm going to go back and grab the C6, cool, and put a few spots here. I'm not going to go with the black, because, well, you know, as I'm doing it, I think I do need to use black. But just a few. I'm going to go back to the brush pen. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm just narrating what I'm doing, but it's difficult to draw and talk at the same time. I should ask for questions. If anybody has any questions, give me questions in the comments, and I'll try to answer them next time. The problem is I've been doing this so long, and I have a lot of the same people watching them that, like, I don't even know what people would ask me. I mean, you could ask me art stuff, you could ask me personal stuff. I'll answer most anything. I don't like to get into politics or religion, but pretty much anything else I will talk about on this. Don't take that as a challenge to find something I don't want to talk about. But I'm not shy about, like, personal stuff or sharing what little artistic knowledge I have. I'm not. Some people are kind of weirdly guarded and greedy about their knowledge, which I think is silly, because, you know, people share things with me, I share things with other people, everybody's happy, the world goes around, you know, favors come around, go around. And honestly, if somebody can learn something from me and use that better than me, and that costs me a job, like, that's such a bizarre, specific situation. But I'm not that worried about it, you know. Like, if I give some tip about how I use a Copic, and then somebody, like, becomes famous over it, it's like, well, good. Hopefully they're happy and they say thank you, you know. Like, but I'm not like, that should have been me. Like, well, it could have been. Obviously, it wasn't. They did something different, you know. Even if you try to copy someone, you're going to be different. So I'm not that terribly worried, and I would kind of take it as a compliment if somebody tried to copy me. I think it'd be weird. It's like, it's not like I'm rich and famous. Why are they copying me? All right, now I'm on the verge of overworking it, so I'm going to look at it. Here's where we're at. That was W4. I'm going to take W2, not the grease spray, and just blend it here a little bit in with the spot area. And again, not blend it where it's there's no white at all, but just so it's a little less harsh. Again, it is sort of like, it's not a tattoo, at least not that I'm aware of. It looks more just like, skin patterns and things like that. So I want it to look a little bit more organic and natural. All right. The only thing I'm questioning is his little bib thing here. Looks a little bit too similar to his mouth inside. Let me show you what I mean. See, because it's like ringlets, which is what he's wearing, but it's a little bit too similar. I'm trying to think of how to delineate that without going too crazy. Should I put more shading? Yeah, I'm looking at him in the reference, and it does look darker. So I think that was C4. I'll go ahead. I'll grab a C5. And whoops, I'll use the bullet tip, and I'll mostly do it under the chin, where there'd be shading anyway. And you know, I might have to get rid of most of the white here to make it work. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover all this and make all this C5, and then I'll go back to C4 and extend what used to be C4 is now C5. What used to be white is now C4. And then put a little bit of C3. PO, no, C3. Oh my stars. And then that is blending a little bit now, kind of like the Adam Hughes style. Not as much as him, but I think that pops it a little bit more. I might even, I'm even gonna go in with a little bit of C6 here, just for added extra measure. Oops, but I want to use the bullet tip. And just on the edges, and especially under his chin. I think that works better. Take a look. Pops it out a little bit more. And I'm going to do a little bit of W2, because there should be some skin tone under that. And then W2 there. Stop. Gaz, you're overworking it. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, I should sign it, huh? I hate signing my work. Because it's always like, I have the composition just how I like it, and now I got to sign it and mess it up. I guess I can sign it up top. I don't want to sign it. I don't want to sign it. I'm going to sign it on the back. There. And if he wants me to sign it on the front, I will, but that's on him because I feel like it's going to ruin it. All right, I'm going to stop. I'll put up a picture of the final product, and then we'll talk in a second.
That's my predator. I'm the predator.
Hello, it's me, Gazbot. It's day 34, I think. Anyway, I had a lot of run around doing today, not a lot of sitting at the desk. The first part of the day, I had to send out some eBay auctions, I had to send out some Etsy print sales, I had to send out a comic, which was nice, and then I had to run around doing things. We're going to be going away in a few days, so I had to stock up on cat food and a few practical things. Also, I'm thinking of doing a casual cosplay for the first time ever at this convention. By casual cosplay, if you saw me and didn't know the character I was, you would just be like, that guy's dressed a little funny, I think, you know? But I had needed a few last minute things for that. So anyway, what a weird pause. But anyway, got back, did about an hour on the comic today. I don't have a lot to show you. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to show you anything. I was working on page 4 roughs for the horror. And I was having a little bit of a hard time with it. I put in an hour and didn't even get one panel done. I mean, I did the page layouts, I did the nuts and bolts stuff that I've talked about before, laid out the panels, but I realized on this thumbnail, when I was looking at the script, I'm like, oh, I kind of vaguely remember, because like, there was like scratched out panel, and I'm like, oh, right, I kind of didn't 100% figure out what I was going to do with the thumbnail. It was like, this is room where this can happen, and I didn't quite figure it out, so I was sort of trying to re-thumbnail it a little bit, and then I started drawing boots in the first panel, but I didn't get very far. You know, like I said, I put an hour in, but it was productive. It was things that had to be done, but nothing worth showing. Yeah. You know what? It's the end of this video. And of this day! And this day ending is day 34, I hope. And if today's day 34, well then that means we've got 66 days left. Why? I don't know, because it's dark, so it's scary, right? I don't know.